From time to time, I like to walk through books of the Bible during these devotionals. And when I do, I often follow one of the readings from the daily lectionary. As with the weekly lectionary for Sundays, the daily lectionary includes a reading from the Old Testament, a reading from an epistle, and a reading from a gospel, along with psalm selections for each day. The daily lectionary is a 2-year cycle of readings, and by the time you've gone through it, you will have read almost the entire Bible. Today, for the epistle reading, the daily lectionary begins a 4-week run through the entire letter to the Hebrews. By the time I've finished up, you should know quite a lot about this important epistle, if you don't get sick to death of it first. I say that tongue-in-cheek, of course. But following one letter from beginning to end over a period of weeks does run the risk of becoming monotonous. I'll do my level best not to let that happen. Hello, I'm Stuart Baskin, pastor of First Presbyterian Church of Tyler, Texas, and this is your daily devotional for Monday, January 8th, 2024. To me, one of the remarkable things about Hebrews is how many passages we know, but yet how infrequently we actually read it. We are generally much more familiar with the letters of Paul, especially Romans through Colossians. After that, we start down a road where we are much less familiar with the landscape. Still, portions of Hebrews are familiar, if only because many passages get quoted by preachers like me. Now, a quick word about what we think we know about the letter. First, it is an anonymous letter. The early church attributed it to Paul, even though a scan through it reveals very different vocabulary and very different ideas from those in Paul's letters. But the 3rd century theologian Origen summed it up this way: "Who wrote the epistle?" he said. "In truth, God knows." The truth is, we don't really know who wrote it, and we don't really know to whom it was written. Nowhere in the letter does it mention being to a group of Hebrews. The title, "To the Hebrews," was attached later, probably because the major thrust of the letter is a comparison of Jesus Christ to traditional Jewish practice, especially animal sacrifice. But the truth is, we don't know who the original recipients were, and we don't even know when it was written. There are no historical events mentioned in the letter to which we can attach ideas about when it was written. So, with all that we don't know about the letter, why is it important? Well, that's easy. This letter is important because it makes some important theological claims about Jesus Christ, who he is, what he does, and how his death functions in God's plan for salvation. Unlike the letters of Paul, where there is almost always a crisis in the church that the writer addresses, the writer of Hebrews focuses exclusively on Jesus Christ. Pay attention to this writer, and you'll be richly rewarded with a deeper understanding of who Jesus is. Here's just a portion of today's daily lectionary reading, but this brief portion, which is the very opening few verses, says a lot already. Long ago, God spoke to our ancestors in many and various ways by the prophets, but in these days he has spoken to us by a Son, whom he appointed heir of all things, through whom he also created the worlds. He is the reflection of God's glory and the exact imprint of God's very being, and he sustains all things by his powerful word. When he had made purification for sins, he sat down at the right hand of the Majesty on high, having become as much superior to angels as the name he has inherited is more excellent than theirs. The key to understanding Hebrews is in this last phrase, having become as much superior to angels as the name he has inherited is more excellent than theirs. Beginning from these opening sentences, the writer lifts up Jesus Christ as superior, first to the angels, then to the prophets, then to the priesthood, and even to Moses and the patriarchs. What makes him superior? Well, in each case, the writer lifts up angels, prophets, priests, or patriarchs, notes their excellence, and then places Jesus Christ as more excellent still. As we read through Hebrews, take note of these comparisons. Their cumulative effect is to elevate Jesus Christ above any and above all in the created order. For as the writer noted in this brief passage, he is the reflection of God's glory and the exact imprint of God's very being. It doesn't get any higher or more excellent than that. Tomorrow, the writer emphasizes that Christ was made perfect in his suffering for us. But for now, may God continue to bless you and keep you in all that you do this day and in all the days ahead.